Hello there, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on program eligibility and the application process for Georgia's home energy rebates. My name is Anita Wilson, and I am the project manager for Georgia Home Energy Rebates at the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, or GEFA for short. Guidehouse is a consulting firm that with some expertise in state and local government and government programs. So we are pleased to have Malcolm Clark, State and Local Government Associate Director with Guidehouse, and Olivia McCoy, a Marketing and Engagement Consultant with Guidehouse, on with us today. They're going to be supporting the call. And we have just a few housekeeping announcements to give you before we jump into the webinar content today. First of all, today's webinar will be recorded. And if you have any questions that you would like to have covered as we're going through the information today, please be sure to use the Q&A feature. So if you're like me, you may have to hover to get those icons to pop up. If you don't see that Q&A icon immediately, click on the More button and then look for that Q&A icon. Click on there to open up that Q&A box feature to plug in your questions as we go. And also, I wanted to mention if for any reason that Q&A feature is not working or is not available to you, depending on how you have joined today, as time permits at the end of the webinar today, we are going to open up the chat feature. So you'll have an opportunity to plug in a question at that time. Another announcement is that the information we are sharing today is current as of April the 22nd, 2026. Please visit our official program website for the most up-to-date information. That's energyrebates.georgia.gov. And again, I'm going to go ahead and get our slides moving. And today's webinar, again, we're focusing on eligibility and the application process. And before we jump into that, just a real quick introduction, and this may be a repeat if you have joined one of our webinars before, but the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, we actually have been founded in 1986, so we have a 40-year anniversary this year. And GEFA manages programs that serve and improve Georgia's energy, land, and water resources. GEFA provides loans for critical infrastructure, and GEFA manages energy efficiency and renewable energy programs and monitors state-owned fuel storage tanks. GEFA serves as the state energy office for Georgia, and Georgia's home energy rebates is administered through GEFA's Energy Resources Division, and the rebates are funded by the U.S. Department of Energy. These rebates help Georgia residents interested in energy efficiency home improvements and or electric appliance updates at a reduced cost. Energy efficiency helps use less power while making your home more comfortable. The program does not require a loan, waiting to take advantage of a tax credit, or having a lien put against your home. And one more time, today's webinar is going to focus on program eligibility and the application process. So we wanted to first establish some applicant residency requirements that are associated with program eligibility. Again, all Georgia residents, homeowners, and renters are eligible, but applicants must reside in a dwelling unit within the state of Georgia, and that needs to be their primary home address. During the application process, households are going to be asked to provide information and documentation related to proving that they have met the program's residency requirements. So just some examples we have around proof of identification is going to be maybe a driver's license or U.S. passport. And then proof of residency is going to be maybe some government issue documents or utility bills that list your name and address. A helpful link down there is our eligibility page, and we'll reference that page quite a bit as we're going through information today. We wanted to also highlight, again, we've mentioned renters are eligible to participate, and they do need permission from the owner of the building or home that they are residing in. And during the application process, they'll get those same requirements around proof of identification and proof of residency, but there's some extra steps that tenants and landlords will need to address in the application process. So there'll be a signed form that the owner landlord is signing that they confirm they've given permission for the tenant to move forward with the application and the project. And then if we're going to get into levels of income in just a few slides, but just a note that if the tenant household is, if it's determined that they are below 80% of AMI, there's going to be a requirement that the landlord sign a form that the rent won't be raised in a certain set amount of time. So we just, I think the purpose of that was to make sure tenants were protected from rent spikes as a result of the upgrades involved in the project. Right. And then we'll kind of move into our applicant income requirements. So there's two ways to kind of get that income level established. Again, depending on the program and depending on what all is being done in the project, that household income is going to be establishing if you're eligible for a program, and it's also going to help. It's also going to be tied to the incentive amount because there's some standard rebates amounts, and then there's some enhanced or higher rebates amounts available based on your household income. So the one way to establish income is just some information and documentation around wages. So in that instance, any household members that are 18 or older, you're going to be pulling together income information from the past year. So that can be a federal tax return, some W-2 documentation, self-employment income documentation, or some sort of proof of unemployment. So maybe a benefit letter associated with that. And I wanted to just make it really clear that if it's a tenant landlord situation where the project location is going to be, the tenant income, so the tenant household income is what's going to be used to determine eligibility and to determine incentive amounts. So the tenant is going to be the one that is pulling together this information about household income, pulling together any kind of documentation, and then plugging that in to the online application. So just wanted to mention that as well. It wouldn't be the owner or landlord's income that is used to make those determinations. Okay. And alternatively, instead of pulling together the household income, there is the option to utilize that categorical eligibility path. So if at least one member of the household is a participant, an active participant in one of the programs that you see listed, and I won't list all talk through all of those today. They are on our eligibility webpage. But if there is a member of the household that is eligible, that is receiving benefits from one of the programs on this screen, you can use that letter, that benefit letter, to qualify for Georgia's home energy rebates. And just a note, there's just a few of these may require a little bit of additional information on top of that benefit letter, but the program team would work with you on that if that's one of the ways you would like to qualify for the program. All right. I am gonna actually let me do one more and then we're gonna pause and see if there are any questions out there. So just kind of doing a comparison. If you were on a previous webinar where we kind of talked the her versus here program, that her program is again kind of doing some whole home efficiency measures, whereas the here program is kind of just specific measures where you're kind of going more electric in your home versus maybe some other sort of energy source. And so anyway, those two pathways of the program have some differences in the income eligibility piece. So we wanted to kind of highlight those. So on that her side, that whole home efficiency program, that maximum rebate amount is $16,000. There are no income limits to participate. So you could be a millionaire and still be able to take advantage of the her program. What I will highlight is that again, there's some incentive levels. So that standard rebate level under the her side is going to be a maximum rebate of $4,000 available to those households with an AMI of 80% or above. And then the enhanced rebate level for the home efficiency rebates that her program is going to be that $16,000 mark. And that is available to households with the income established at 80% or below, excuse me, below 80% AMI. On the here side, so that electrification side where you're doing maybe some specific equipment upgrades within the home. The overall maximum available, and that's kind of like a combination of all those different possible measures, is $14,000. And but this one does have an income limitation. So can't be a millionaire on this one. So your household income needs to be up to 150% of AMI. And then again, there's some differentials in the rebate levels depending on your household income. Um, if you are at the 80% AMI or above with the household income, up to 50% of your total project cost is going to be covered and just not there's still a not to exceed cap on that depending on the measure and that is all detailed on our website. Enhanced rebate level under here is for folks with a household income below 80% AMI, and that is going to be where we're going to be the rebates are going to be covering up to 100% of the total project cost. And real quick before I pause, I'm going to explain AMI because I get, when we're talking to folks, I do get a lot of questions about AMI. Not everybody is super familiar with that term. So AMI stands for Area Median Income. And those limits are set by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and they update those on a regular basis. It's annually, and it's normally in the springtime, April or May timeframe that those are updated. It is different from the federal poverty level, where that's more flat. The AMI is more adjusted to the locality, so it does vary from county to county. And as a participant in utilizing the DOE funding for this program, we are actually required by the Department of Energy to utilize AMI when we're determining the household income eligibility, and that's for both programs, both her and here. And then we wanted to mention where you can get more information about these HUD limits and where this AMI comes from. There is a helpful link there, and we're going to be sharing these slides so that you can click through those. But if you just go Google HUD limits, you'll get this in the search results, and you'll get to see how those are established. All right, I'm gonna leave that up and take a breath and then see if there's some questions that have maybe come in.
We got a couple in the
Okay,
chat. And Anita, what I'll do, I'll read them off if you want to take a
perfect.
first jump at it, and then I'll
Sure,
jump in.
sure.
So the first question is, what if you worked last year but are currently unemployed? Is the current income of zero counted? And then a second question, which is similar and related to it, is what if the household income is drastically different now than it was in the previous year?
Okay.
Is there a
Yep.
way to form eligibility to consider that current situation?
Yep. So as we have it right now, we are using the data from that income data from the previous year. So if you are in a situation where something has changed, um, let me reach out to us either by the call center or using the online form so we can get with our review team to see if there are any ways that we can look into utilizing some different data for your income eligibility.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Continuing to move on,
Mhm.
question is applying for the HER or the Home Efficiency Rebate Program. Is
Yes.
there an income? Is there an income requirement?
No. So on that her side, that whole home efficiency side, no income limits. That's the one where you can be a millionaire and you can still be able to utilize or take advantage of that rebate. Only the here, that appliance side has
Yeah,
that limitation. Make sure I said that right, Malcolm.
that's right. You said it right.
Okay.
On
Okay.
the HER program, for folks that aren't income qualifying, they can get up to 50% off of total project costs. Yeah, great.
Say that one more time.
Sorry, for the HER program, for folks who aren't income qualifying, whose income exceeds the sort of eligibility threshold, not the eligibility threshold, they can get up to 50% on project costs.
So, let me back up. Make sure
Hmm.
I'm got this right. Okay. On that her side,
Yeah,
so the whole home efficiency, yes. So, if the household income is above that 80% AMI, they can still get a rebate. It's just going to be a lower rebate. It's going to max out at 4,000.
there we go. Yep,
There we go.
yep.
Yep. And then the here side where you're kind of going electric with specific upgrades and appliance switch outs, that's where that 50%, 100% total project cost jumps in.
Right. Thank you for that clarification. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're trying to get at.
Okay, good. Good, good, good.
Perfect. So,
I get tongue-tied around it as well, so do not feel bad about asking multiple times.
no, this is good.
Yeah.
So continuing on,
Okay.
does disability or social benefits count as income?
Yes, that is my understanding. If it's income, even if it's through maybe like a social security or disability benefits, we that is still considered income for the household. So that is calculated in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you actually answered the next her specific
Okay.
question, which is can a homeowner receive up to $16,000 from her with the no income requirement?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You will still have to provide income documentation or that categorical or go that categorical eligibility pathway to establish where you are in the 80%. at the above or below 80% AMI mark. But yes, if it's determined that you're below the 80% AMI or you're categorically eligible, you're going to get the maximum, be eligible for the maximum rebate of $16,000 in that instance.
Great. We got
Wonderful.
one more question
Okay.
related to a multifamily question.
Ooh, okay.
Um, I kind of want us to sort of direct that over email just because
Okay.
of how sort of specific some of these cases are.
Okay.
But
Yep, Malcolm, if you'll screenshot that just in case we lose it when we close the meeting, and then that way we can circle back to them. And then again, y- um please, if it's something we can't address on today's webinar, please give us a call at the call center. They'll route it through. And then also there is an online form where you can submit a question and we'll get right back to you.
these are some great questions, and thank you very much, Anita, for
Okay.
walking us through these. That's
Okay.
it for now.
All right, I'm gonna keep going, but keep the questions coming. We've got more places where we can pause and get caught up on questions. So thank you guys for submitting those. All right, so I'll move off of this. We've got our AMI discussed, and then I will switch now over to something handy dandy that we have put on our program website, and that's our rebate eligibility calculator tool. When those AMI limits get updated by HUD, we will update this tool so that it's still giving accurate results. But they haven't posted those new ones yet. So this one that is out there is working for what you need to do to just see where you're at and eligibility. So what you'll do is you can go just energyrebates.georgia.gov and put calculator tool in the search box, or you can get to our eligibility page and there will be some links there for y'all to click to get to this rebate eligibility tool. So it's very simple to fill out. You'll put in your county, your household size. You're going to include folks that are 18 and older, and you're going to include children in that household size because you want your household size to be the maximum that is and reflective of everybody that's in the home there. And then you're also going to plug in your estimated annual household income. So you'll click the next button. That's going to take you over to a screen that is going to say, hey, based on what you have entered in the boxes on the previous screen, this is where you land. And in this particular instance, it was below the 80% area median income. So, and I'll show you on a future slide what I had plugged in to get to that screen. You'll then, if you think that maybe something wasn't entered right, you can go back and plug in some data again, or if you're maybe helping somebody, you can do it as many times as needed, and you can put different information in. If you're ready to kind of go forward and kind of see what that means in terms of rebates, you'll click the next button, and then that's going to take you to a screen where you can kind of scroll through, see what the max incentive might be, and it'll break it up between her and here, and then it will break it up based on that 80% AMI versus something higher than 80%. So that is very helpful, and it might help you as before, maybe before you reach out to a contractor about a project, just to see where you're at, or maybe while the contractor is there. That's something you can kind of be looking at to help in that conversation with the contractor as y'all determine maybe what all you'd like to get done at your home by way of eligible measures. Okay. All right. And then there are specific eligibility requirements at the project level. So we did want to highlight those as well. We did talk about these a little bit in our first webinar, but we wanted just to kind of bring that back since it does touch on eligibility, and it does affect rebate levels. So on that HER side, um, even though there's no income restriction, there is a requirement around energy savings. So, on that HER or whole home upgrade or efficiency type of project, the minimum required energy savings is there, and that is 20%. And the contractor that you work with will take care of doing all that modeling based on the measures that you and that contractor kind of think are priorities at the home and what would be the biggest value in getting to that minimum energy savings threshold. And then again, there's a standard level and an enhanced level. So projects that get that minimum 20% all the way up to 34% in energy savings based on their project measures, that's going to give them a standard level rebate. And then for projects that achieve 35% energy savings or more, that's going to get you that enhanced rebate. For example, a home where the household income is below 80% AMI, if they decided to do a HER project, we know that the maximum rebate available to them would be $16,000. That is considered the enhanced rebate. So think 80% below 80% AMI on the income, achieving a very high 35% or more in energy savings, that's going to get you your maximum rebate eligibility of $16,000. It's going to be lower if the project is achieving that lower amount of energy savings. And there's a real handy chart when you get to the results from your rebate eligibility calculator, or if you just go to the HER informational page on our website. It'll break it down for you a little bit better than this chart does. We were trying to keep it a little more concise for today. On the here side, so those specific upgrades, no energy savings required. So the contractor you work with, if you and that contractor decide the here pathway is better for you because maybe there are just some specific things you would like to get done, they will not need to establish any kind of energy savings. So that is one less step to go through. But again, the rebate amount is the maximum rebate amount there is a little bit lower, but you may be doing less measures. So it might work out better. You just work with your contractor on that based on the priorities and what they think might work best for you. And again, that standard rebate is where it's going to be based on the household AMI. It's going to either be 50% of the overall project cost using that standard rebate or 100% of the project cost if that household AMI is below 80%. And then I won't go through all the different eligible measures because we do have that on our website, but just to give you an idea, you will see some similarities. Some of the same measures can be done whichever pathway you go down. So again, it's a nice conversation to have with your contractor to see where you might fall based on what you'd like to get done at your home. Okay. So this is what I wanted to show you when I did the rebate calculator tool example a couple of slides ago. I put in a household size of 4. I put in Fulton County, and I put estimated household income of 90,000, and that did end up being below 80% AMI for Fulton County. So just wanted to give you just a rough example, maybe for her project. The project scope in this example included multiple measures that help them meet that minimum threshold of energy savings. Again, that minimum for her is going to be 20% energy savings. In this particular example, they achieved 28. So again, it's higher than the minimum of 20, but it's lower than that enhanced rebate of 35. So this particular household wasn't eligible for the big $16,000 enhanced rebate, but they were eligible for up to $10,000 or 19 or 98% of the project cost for her. So in this example, the total project cost that they had worked out with the contractor was 10,500. So the rebates covered 10,000 of that, and the owner or resident, tenant resident was left with $500 out of pocket for 10,000 and $500 worth of work at the home. So that's a good thing. Okay. Um, and then actually, let me pause there because we're going to kind of jump in more to like the project journey and the application process a little bit here. So let me see if there's anything else maybe around eligibility that we can answer for the group.
Anita, I'll just go through three quick questions that have come in.
Okay. Yep.
The first one is how long does it take to hear back after applying? But I think you're going
Okay.
to get into that
We will.
into the project journey here. So I'll put a
Yep.
pin at that.
Yep.
What is the energy savings range? I'll just answer that really quickly. It's
Yes.
essentially the energy savings that modeled energy savings that folks would see as a result of the incentives or improvements made in the home. So just how much more efficient your household and how comfortable your home is based up as a result of the upgrades. Um, then lastly, someone asked if a panel upgrade from 100A to 250A would have a HER incentive available, and then in a later upgrade to a water heater to an HVAC upgraded HVAC system would have be eligible for here. I would just direct that individual to our contact us form, just given how specific it is.
Yep. And I will just add, we have had folks work with their contractor to be real creative. If there's a set of measures that can be covered under a HER project application that can be nicely paired with some eligible measures under the HERE. So that is, I think we maybe touched on that just a little bit in a previous webinar that you can combine them, and there are contractors within the network that have found beneficial ways to help folks maximize the available rebates by utilizing both the HER pathway and the HERE pathway to make sure they get as many measures covered as they possibly can. So, but that is a great question, and we can help with that offline. Any other ones, Malcolm?
One more that I'm going to respond to directly
Okay.
is, do we provide a list of eligible contractors? We do. It's on our website, and I'll share the link shortly.
Put that in the link. Yes, that link in the chat or in the box. We'll make sure we get that out there. All right. Any others before I jump forward?
I think we're good for now.
Okay, good for now. All right, keep them coming, y'all. We've got time. So, all right. We touched on this last time, but I wanted to just kind of give that journey overview, the kind of the main five sections of a project journey. Again, an applicant might be thinking about a project like this. Maybe they've heard about a program. Maybe they've been talking to a contractor about doing something and getting some quotes. Um, and so that's kind of step one, is to kind of at least just get some interest built up at the household level about maybe looking into this. Um, and then you're gonna, if you haven't already been talking to a contractor that is within our network, you will get to our website do a little bit of research and go to that find and approve contractor screen. And then there'll be a searchable directory that you'll find there. And then you can plug in maybe a type of service you're looking for, maybe just your county, or if you if maybe a contractor has been recommended to you or you've talked to one, you can type in a name or a portion of the name of the contractor company, and that will get you to their contact information and you can reach out. I know we've said this before, but if you talk to the first contractor that maybe you get with about your project, if for some reason you're not comfortable with that contractor, please don't hesitate to get additional quotes from other approved contractors and kind of go with the contractor that you were most comfortable with or that you felt like you were able to work through the scope of work the best with. So because that contractor is really driving the process, especially at the beginning, they're the ones opening up the application and getting that scope of work you've talked with them about and getting that into the system to kind of get the ball rolling. They're going to collect some information, plug that in, give some details about what's proposed to be done. And then the system is actually going to be able to invite you in as the applicant. And so that's where you'll kind of see where you're supposed to put in your information. And we'll get into those specifics in just a moment. Then, after the project team kind of reviews what you as the applicant have put in and what the scope of work that has been put in by the contractor, they'll review that. And then there'll be a point at which you can kind of move into the installation phase of the project. So that's where the contractor's doing the work and then collecting some information to present to the project team that everything's been installed as it's supposed to and meets all the program requirements related to installation. And then project team does another review, make sure everything is good to go. And then we actually issue payment directly to the contractor after we've reviewed everything. So the only instance where you would be paying the contractor instead of us is if there was something outside the rebate, some portion of the work that couldn't be covered by the rebate. And you would know that before the work is done. So it wouldn't be like a surprise at the end that you would get a bill for something. But that would be the only instance where you would be required to pay something at the conclusion of the project. Okay. And then we kind of wanted to take you through the some steps that you will need to recognize as you're kind of getting into the application itself. So again, we do recommend spending some time on the website, learning a little bit about the programs, learning a little bit about eligibility. Um, there's some program resources on that website. So just taking the time and do some due diligence on the front end to just kind of get some awareness around the overall program and kind of what's required and everything like that. Again, use that contractor directory to find one or more contractors to speak with about a scope of work and estimate. Um, Definitely schedule a home evaluation depending on what you're hoping to get done so that the contractor can kind of be on the same page with you about what all kind of measures are eligible for the rebate, and they might even be able to help you to kind of determine which program path to go down. Again, you're going to develop that project scope of work with discussions with your contractor. The contractor is going to be the one to actually input that into the applicant system. They're going to be creating what we call a case within the online platform called Neighborly. They're going to document that with all the details related to what's the work that's going to be done and which pathway that constitutes a project for. That is done online. And then You, as the applicant, are going to be receiving an email from the online platform called Neighborly, and it will prompt you to create your participant profile. And then you'll go through kind of your portion of the application. That is a portion of the application that the contractor cannot see because you're going to be asked to input some personal information in that side of the application. So that is just for you, and it will take you step by step on what to input. Look, there'll be some little descriptions around the steps to kind of give you some context of what's getting put in. There, you will also have to upload documents within that participant profile. So those required documents that we mentioned earlier today, it will prompt you to put those in so that the review team can see those. So again, that's getting put in. Let's say the contractor has put in everything he or she needs to on the project scope of work side. You've put in everything you need to on the participant profile side. And then that's going to go to a review team. And again, this is all before any work has been done. There may be some consultation that's happened at your home, but no actual project installation work has started yet. So this is all before that gets going. That review team is reviewing everything. If something is missing, maybe something's missing from the contractor is going to get a note letting them know that they need to get back in there and take care of something. If something's missing on your side, let's say a document didn't upload, or there was, some sort of information missing, or if there was maybe an additional household member that where information was either there or not there, and they just needed to clarify what the situation around that was. You're going to get an email that asks you to handle that within Neighborly. So that can take a little time, depending on how diligent a particular applicant is about getting back in there to take care of all that. But the system is going to be prompting that resident to get that taken care of so that the process can move forward. So once all that is done and everything is approved by the project team for to proceed, both the contractor and the applicant will get an email confirmation establishing the measures, the income level determination, and the rebate. The eligible rebate, and it's going to give the level. So if it's, let's say it is that $16,000 max, it's going to note that on the email. Once that has gone out, you and the contractor can work out timing on getting the work done. And then once that's completed, the contractor does have a little bit of work going back into Neighborly. There's some program requirements around post installation that they know that they have to get in there and put that in order to move it to final review and payment. And then the review team will take a look at all of that one last time before payment is issued. Again, payment is going to the contractor directly from GFA. So it is everything that as long as everything was installed as proposed in the scope of work, the rebate amount is going to be going to that contractor from the program. So, and then I think we talked about this a little bit ago, but the only instances where you might owe something to the contractor is something that was outside the scope of the rebate. And that's something you would have agreed to before installation. So you'll be responsible as the resident for paying that remaining balance. Okay. Let me pause there because that was a lot of steps. Let me see if anything's come through, Malcolm.
Let's see. Going through the list, I'm gonna go down. Uh, One question says, do you suggest that we get multiple quotes from multiple contractors within the program, or are the estimates fairly universal?
Um, it it does depend on the type of project you are considering. So, um, if I would recommend if the first contractor that comes out, if you are 100% comfortable with them or they've been highly recommended to you and you just really click and everything looks good, you may decide not to get multiple quotes. We've had participants do that. Um, we I wouldn't discourage you from getting multiple to talking to multiple contractors to kind of get a better idea of the differentials. So there is no there aren't just flat established max other than the rebate maximums available out there per the program requirements. There doesn't necessarily need doesn't necessarily equate to there being a standard cost for everything across the board. So there are different charge levels that we've seen from different contractors along the program. So just be aware of that. And if you feel like it's just a better, more cost-effective and smarter idea to get multiple quotes, that is fine. Some folks do have a long-standing relationship with the contractor that's within the network, and they just prefer to go with them because of the years of that relationship or comfort. But we leave that up to you to determine what's best for you. That was a
Great.
long answer, so sorry.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Anita. On to the next question is, once you have completed your project, is there a waiting period or limitation on doing another improvement, say, in the next year?
Okay. Um, I do think there before opening, I do recommend the first project being completely closed out and paid before opening a new project. Unless it's a situation where that again that contractor is maybe working with you to pair a her project with a here project, there is some synergy that can be done around that. Um, but if you would like to maybe start with one measure and get that done. Maybe it's more urgent, more of an urgent project than maybe something else, and you kind of get through that. You can open another project down the road and take advantage of another rebate. So in that instance, it might be a good idea to maybe let that first one close out, and then you can work with that same contractor or a different contractor to do something else. If you're interested in doing the DIY pathway, you can do a project where a contractor is helping you through that project and application, and then you can also later do a DIY project that you do yourself. That's a-okay as well. So as long as you're not exceeding the maximum rebate amounts, especially based on measure on those equipment measures, you should be fine to put in multiple applications over time.
Right. Thank you. Is another follow-up question is there a cost for multiple quotes?
Um, that will depend on the contractor. So again, if a contractor is willing to do a free estimate, a free quote, to come out and meet with you and kind of take a look at the project with you. If that's a better fit for you, that might be the way to go. So again, it may vary by contractor. So just make sure when you're making that initial outreach that you get any kind of information around if they charge for quotes on just make sure you know that on the front end before they come out.
Right. Thank you, Anita.
Okay.
Another question is, how long will the program be available?
Okay, good question. So, we will le- direct you to, we have a dashboard on our website. I think right now it is housed on the multifamily tab. So that will open you up to a screen that shows you how much funding is still available. So as of right now, there is millions upon millions still available. So as of right now, we are planning for funds to last through the end of 2027. But again, projects are being processed and approved, and those funds are getting reserved on a first come, first served basis. And so once the funds are gone, they are gone. So we don't recommend waiting too long. But as of today, there's plenty of funding remaining. Other questions?
Just a note for the chat. Went
Okay,
ahead and put the rebate dashboard into our
great,
chat so folks are
great.
able to sort of see that progress and track it over time.
Yep. And if that chat box isn't open yet, we can go ahead and open that since we're kind of in our final 10 minutes. And just in case somebody couldn't get a question in
Hmm.
using Q&A.
It's open.
Perfect. Perfect. So, all right. Other questions before I jump in with a reminder about program resources?
There's one more question that I think is specific. It might need to be addressed by our contact center,
Okay.
but I'll just say it here for the record.
Okay.
If a project requires a permit, who will secure that? Is the project inspected after completion to be sure that it meets local code requirements and program requirements?
So I can at least answer the permit question. If it's a type of project that does require a permit, that is on the contractor to do. So that's not something that the program is going to handle. So again, in the inspection by the program is limited to the first 5 projects of a new contractor coming into the network, and then periodic um, kind of more spot inspections going forward to make sure that at least 5% of their projects are inspected. If you are not happy with something with the work that is done, we do ask you to first reach out to the contractor to kind of work out what you feel like they need to do to rectify the situation. And if for some reason that outreach does not get you satisfied with what needs to happen to rectify, then we ask that you call and let us know through that call center option.
Great. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Anita. I
Okay.
think we're good with questions for
For the
now.
moment.
So
Okay.
you can take us over to the resources.
All right, I'll jump in. Um, we do have a program resources tab up and going now. That might be how some of you found the link to register for the webinar. So we're going to be listing our webinar registration links on that page, and then tons of forms available, helpful forms available on that website, and some helpful links as well. So, wanted to mention that, and then just the overall the program website and kind of clicking through the different pages on that, it can be very helpful to kind of get you more aware about the information and answer your questions. There is a frequently asked questions page as well, so that's can be helpful if you think of a question later to check that page. We mentioned the rebate calculator tool that you can get to kind of help see where a household might be in terms of income eligibility. Those application guides. That's where I pulled the 12 steps from that we discussed today. That is listed in that application guide and can kind of help you as you're getting into your portion, that resident or homeowner portion of the neighborly portal. So there's some helpful um, pages in that guide that can kind of help you getting into Neighborly because it's may or may not be a familiar application for you. It wasn't for me before I came to Jifa, so I had to learn my way through it. And then, as always, we have our contact center that is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That is available to folks that are already in the application process, interested in the program. Even contractors that are interested in becoming part of the network can reach out to the contact center to kind of see what the next steps are. So that's a handy resource as well. All right. And again, we do have funds available, still available. That's why we wanted to continue on with this webinar series to get the word out and just again visit the website to get help you get started or at least get some more information. You can use that Find a Contractor page to kind of get started in connecting with a program approved contractor. And then just again, remember it is a statewide program. So anybody, any resident within the state can take advantage of these rebates. So please tell family members, neighbors, friends that live in Georgia about this program so that they can take advantage of as well. Okay. And I think that is the last one. I'm gonna leave the slides open just in case a question.
We just got one.
Okay.
This is a good one.
All
Uh,
right.
are the home efficiency rebate and home electrification and appliance rebate applied for and both approved at the same time?
Yeah, short answer is yes. It just does take a little finessing with your contractor. So just make sure when you're talking to your contractor about that, make sure, first of all, make sure the contractor that's coming out does do her does do her the her side of the program because not every single contractor within our network does the her side again because there's some specialized training that they go through for that modeling piece because again that's tied to that energy savings threshold. So if you think your project is going to involve the her side, when you reach out to the contractor, just confirm with them before they come out that they can do a her project, and then talk to them to see if you think that your project's going to necessitate doing both. And so they will work with you and the program team to work that through to work that through the system. But it has been done, is the short answer. Other questions? Has it gone quiet, Malcolm?
We just got one that has to do with retroactive rebates, but I essentially want to just direct because essentially the question is can I submit an application of an appliance that I bought last November, or does it need to be purchased within the past fiscal year? And I just want to direct this question to our frequently asked questions document, which illustrates the process for retroactive
Yeah.
rebates.
I do think there was a time limit to that. So yeah, that's a good idea just to
Hmm.
let them pull that from that information to confirm.
But you can, of course, also reach out to our contact center as well, who can work with your specific case.
Perfect. All right. Well, we are at time, and we just want to thank everybody for spending their lunch hour with us today and learning a little bit more about the program eligibility and application side of our program. And we are hoping to continue our series monthly, and so we should be sharing some information about the May 2026 webinar with you soon. So we definitely welcome you back for another topic around this program. And thank you so very much for joining us today.